passionate about how innovative technologies drive exponential business outcomes and challenges the status quo all the time. And today he is going to again talk about his own passionate subject on innovation, how stop networks from killing innovation. So over to Mr. Prabhakaran for his session. Welcome, sir. Yeah. I think the sessions are running a bit behind, so we may have some people walking
Should
in.
we wait for a few minutes?
We could start and we could just let the other tracks people walk in. Yeah.
All right. So
Just
we have limited audience. We have limited.
that's my mic. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we have limited audience, but I'll ensure that you get what we are trying to do. As she mentioned, I am Prabhakaran Shivaguru. I head channels and alliances for GSIs and India sales based in Bangalore. So this is the most least discussed topic today. I was hearing other speakers. Network. So DevOps is the thing today, right? In the next 6 months or 1 year, DevOps is the thing in the software development cycle. But the question is, the most least talked about is the network. So you're all from development, right, or IT? Okay. So have you faced any issues while you are setting up a DevOps team, a DevOps network? Have you faced any issues with IT teams?
All the time.
All the time? Okay. So the point is, that is a challenge, right? So every time you try to create a DevOps, right? So you end up reaching at a dead end with the IT team. They'll say, okay, security is an issue. I cannot provide you connectivity. I must have spoken to 10 customers in the last 2 weeks on DevOps. What they say is they are not able to get access through IT team, corporate IT team, because of various security policies. So here we are, democratizing IT and security and bringing it to the developers, right? So basically we are pushing the security aspects, the network aspects to the developer. In short, empowering the developers to set up networks for DevOps, right? So that's what I'm going to talk about. So today networks are actually killing innovation when it comes to DevOps. That's what I'm going to talk about. And so we are talking about agile development, mobile development, containers, working containers, all of that. But are the networks ready to handle it? No. So it is like you are building a bullet train between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, but you are running on a passenger track. No, the track needs to be also for a bullet train, right? So what we are trying to do is build a track for you, so that your bullet train can run on it, right? So that is what we are trying to do. This is what we are doing is create a private overlay network that developers can embed to your entire DevOps process, right? You don't have to go to IT, you don't have to go to the security team. Your network as well as security is embedded into part of your DevOps. That's what we are trying to do. I forgot to introduce because of setting up this computer. So what is NetFoundry? I will just give a quick brief of, you must not have heard about this name NetFoundry. NetFoundry is a startup spin out of Tata Communications. We are headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina. We are a 60 people company, and we have our CTO is ex-PTC. You must have heard about PTC IoT company. He is our CTO, and it's a homegrown solution. It's unlike any other telco which licenses from Cisco's of the world, others. It's a homegrown platform that we have developed, and in the last 1 year of sales operations, we clocked almost 1 million of revenues and 2.5 million of TCV. So that's a quick short brief, and our majority investors are Tata Communications, but we are going to have venture capitalists investing in it. So we are seeing a lot of traction. But especially one of our major use cases is DevOps, right? So what we are here is to empower the developers like you to create a network for your DevOps, right? So that is where we are here, and we, as it says, right, NetFoundry's approach is to put app connections in the hands of developers. So our technology is based on SDN, software defined networking. You must have heard about SDN, SD-WAN. So ours is something called App WAN, a WAN, wide area network for applications. It's an App WAN, right? So that's what we have created. This platform is called NetFoundry App WAN platform, and I will talk about more how you create these networks. So today this is how it looks, right? So as a developer, you have your clients, you are working on a computer or even a tablet, and there are VPN connections to your common resources like in data centers, right? I hope this is the data centers, and you have VPCs in Azure or AWS, and you have multiple applications, development, testing, stage, production, and common resources. What you actually do is you create multiple VPN connections to that, and when you reach even AWS, there are multiple connections to each of this because different people are working on different things, right? It is a nightmarish network. I'll just give a quote of what a developer actually said. So we are here to transform this. So for every connection, you have to go to our IT team, security team to allow you to access all of this, right? So we are actually, in a way, if there are no IT teams, we are actually kind of dissolving IT teams and bringing that empowering developers to do this, right? VPN, so what are the issues? As I explained, VPNs to punch through hardware firewalls taking weeks, months to provide. So which is actually an issue, because Amazon is doing every 43 seconds there is a push. If you are relying on this, which takes weeks and months, what kind of DevOps you are talking about, right? Running a bullet train on a passenger track. As the users population grow, it does not scale, becomes hard to manage, right? So I'll show you a stat. In fact, the next slide is one VPN install example 1K for 10 developers, 1000 VPN connections for 10 developers because he needs to access multiple of it. Just think of the scale. He needs you have 1000 developers. It is very, very cumbersome. And what we have realized is when we work with AWS, Azure cloud providers, most of the problems comes because of the network, right? The call center of AWS tells us that maximum calls we get because of the network. So that is something we can resolve, right? 48% of their tickets with their 2.5 days close each. So just think of the downtime. Cost of downtime is in dollars for every developer, right? So these are the challenges as a DevOps team, because I think I will be the odd man out, like I am the one wearing the jacket, but I am the only person probably. I looked at the speaker, who all the speakers are. Basically, I am the only one talking about networks, because this is the least discussed topic, but which can have profound impact on developers like you, right? Because in a DevOps conversation, probably there are 10 items. The 10th item is probably the network, may not be even the 10th item. But if you bring in this can affect all the 10 items in a DevOps process, right? Okay, so this is a voice of a developer. So what he says is, one of our developers at his previous company had 70 AWS accounts, right? Our nightmare was maintaining BGP peering was so difficult. Setting up cross-account VPC peering was a nightmare. Few months to get a single connect for our private DCC to AWS. So private data centers to AWS connectivity is a nightmare. If in fact countries like Brazil and other locations, it is very, very difficult, right? VPN tunnels painfully unreliable. US to Brazil went down several times a week. Charlotte to Seattle had problems regularly as well. So your DevOps success depends on the kind of connectivity and how easy to connect that as well. Okay, this is a quick summary of the downtime and the cost to the company, which is invisible, right? So which you generally don't talk about. In a team of 10, a developers team of 10, the number of let's assume there are 5 teams and the VPCs used are 20, the total connections are 1000. So the cost of downtime, it works out to, if it is $100 an hour is the developer's cost, actually 260K per hour you are losing, right? When the network goes down. So when you are really talking about DevOps, my sincere request is think about networks, and software defined networks on the networking side is really, really exciting, which integrates on the DevOps process. So we'll be happy to support you in that. And we can bring in a lot of value. It is not just because there is a technology which integrates DevOps, it brings in a lot of value for your development process. So what is, any questions? Okay. So what is a NetFoundry platform? So we call it as programmable application connectivity, right? So if you look at the center, this is the internet, and you have users connected on laptops or developers connecting to the internet, and you may have applications running in AWS or Azure or public cloud, right? And you may have a data center premises based or even an IoT kind of a setup, which is some kind of a heating and air conditioning systems, HVAC systems. So what we do is, you can as a developer, we provide APIs, and you can run a Jenkins pipeline to create this entire network, and you connect to your applications and run DevOps. You don't need zero involvement from the IT team, right? You don't need any IT team at all once you have this platform. That's what we are bringing to the table, right? DevOps is all about time to market, how faster you can update your Amazon.com, Amazon.in sites, right? When you have this available, a person sitting in a remotest corner of the place can access his applications, do the DevOps and get off. So you don't have to have a 3 a.m. call in the morning, right? So that is what we can do. So what we bring also to the table is, now with the advent of cloud, so we can build this entire network in minutes, right? After this session, we will be happy to show you the entire network that I spoke about can be spun in 15 minutes, in few minutes I may call, right? So you can set up the entire network in few minutes. So it's a completely software only networking. So if you talk about Tata Communications, our parent company, you probably think of boxes and wires. No, we are a 100% software company. It is software that you deploy on the VMs and the networks gets connected. We are agnostic to the network provider. So as a developer, you don't have to think about anything. Just we are a NAS provider, network as a service, go to the browser, subscribe it, and you can deliver the network, right? Create the network and connect to the applications. Most important is the performance. Say sitting in Bangalore, you may want to access an application that is running in US East Coast, right? Or probably in Brazil or in Australia. How do you do that? Because typically you try to build a private network or VPN. VPNs are by design very slowest networks. So what we do is, we can increase the speed by 3x or 4x farther the distance. Performance of the application by 3x, 5x or even 7x, that we have demonstrated, right? So we bring performance, the agility of the network. So if you go and talk to your IT team, okay, I want to set up a DevOps operations process, how long would it take you? Probably say 3 months. But we are talking about minutes here, few minutes, right? Because for an IT person or a network person, he has to buy an MPLS, he need to configure VPNs, and he has to buy few boxes, wires, etc., wherever the connections are. In our case, wherever internet is, we can connect all of them together in a matter of few minutes. So finally, the security, right? So it's about DevSecOps, right? So when we talk about security, we call it as zero trust network. So we think of security, we always talk about VPNs, IPsec security, which slows down the network because of the nature of the network. But in zero trust, it is authenticate before connect, no one can get into the network. So which means your manager knows you as a developer when you have logged into the application, VPC, and how long you have worked, how much data transfer, and when you have logged off. So he has a complete view of the entire application, right? And he can integrate with identity and IAM solutions, and it's a least privileged network. Finally, this is the most discussion with the IT managers, but I will let you know, because when you are taking this up as a developer, it really builds to the IT manager as well. This can save you 40 to 70% cost to their traditional solutions, right? So as a developer, you may not be exposed to all these calculations, but we can help you with, it can save you the company 40 to 70% costs, right? Okay. Next is, it's a bit of a network. How many of you are aware of networks? So I can keep it minimal, not get into too details. Anyone from network background? No, okay. So basically what we do is, there is a application or a VPC and there is a user client, a developer accessing the application. The data transfer, we make it very secure. We split the data, encrypt it and send it over internet. So we make it the most secure military grade network on the planet, right. So that's what we do. I'll not go into the details, but the point, if you are at the end of the presentation, I will say how you can easily access this. We have opened up a developer partner portal which you can access, start using it the next minute you walk out of this room, right. So when you do that, these are the questions that your IT team may be asking. Okay, how about the security, right? So those security, it is the most military grade security that you can have. Next is I spoke about performance. So we can provide we can provide 4x or 5x performance between US and Bangalore over internet. Whichever internet you are working from home broadband, right? Open up your laptop, access your VPC in the US East Coast or wherever it may be, access applications, and we can provide 4x 5x performance better than what you have accessed from through your VPN. So that is the level of performance we can provide. So having put NetFoundry into the solution, so what are we trying to do is, okay, I have to highlight this. Earlier diagram was multiple lines, right? So in this case, okay, in this case it doesn't seem to be working. So you have a single, the gear symbol is nothing but a virtual machine with NetFoundry software in it. The VPCs could be AWS, Azure. We are available on the AWS and Azure marketplace, and you have a VPC NetFoundry software into it. So if you notice, we have completely redesigned the network. You have very much more simpler connections. And if you see, let's say this team is working on database and this team is working on the front end, they will have access to the set of applications only they will access. That's why you see a multiple color code. So that is what it is called micro segmentation. Every microservices is mapped to a particular user. Say for example, a team is working on billing, a team is working on ordering. So those team will have access only to that particular microservice. So microservices level segmentation can be done to a developer level user. So you have 1000 developers, 1000 microservices. Though you are connected on NetFoundry platform, you can connect the user to that particular microservice, right? Not possible in today's technology with VPNs and the others, right? So while we are talking to developers like you, we are talking to your IT managers also about this. But the point is, as a developer, when you see convenience in this, you'll start adopting it, and it goes back to the IT manager. So we are talking to them as well, right? So it simplifies the network much more faster and much more simpler. So as I mentioned earlier, it brings you can set up the network in 10-15 minutes, and it gives you 3x 5x performance improvement and the most military grade security available on the planet, right? So that's what we bring to the table. Okay, so from an organization standpoint, what do they get? They get DevOps, DevSecOps and NetOps. So completely merged. So they know how is the developer working, what process he is in, which stage he is the complete view of it, all on a secure network on internet. You don't need a private network, MPLS or anything. And DevSecOps, it's a completely secure network that we spoke about, microsegmentation, and finally NetOps, right? So have visibility of network flows and access to apps with APIs, right? So how the APIs are called and Jenkins pipeline you can build, I'll just quickly show you that. So this is a quick view of how in a multi-cloud scenario, how you can automate DevOps, right? If you see an Amazon, Google Cloud and Azure, and there are 3 different lines, purple, red and green, right? Let's assume that you have some billing running on Amazon microservices, and you have ordering running on Google, and your front end in Microsoft Azure. So I'm just exaggerating the example, doesn't happen that way, but the point is different people are working on it and goes through this DevOps process of commit, build, test and stage. How do you manage this as a network? It is the most cumbersome process today because people are not thinking about that rail track that I was talking about. When you want to run a super bullet train, you need a much better track, right? So the track is what we build, and commit, build, test and stage. The entire process is made so super simple here, right? And we have CI/CD plugins that you can integrate to your process. Finally, just an umbrella view of what we do. Journey to cloud business. So we are a cloud native solution. We are available on the Azure and AWS marketplace, and connected business and providers. So which means that we connect to multiple application providers by default, and you can access those applications. Finally, it's an internet distributed applications. If it is an internet of things, you want to connect to, it is not about computers and applications. If you want to integrate a HVAC system, others, so that also can be integrated. So these are solution families we work on. So this is Jenkins pipeline that we had created to create a virtual network. If you see, this is the Jenkins pipeline, and as soon as you build this, the other side shows the network dashboard of NetFoundry. Once you see a create network, you can see the create network. Once it says create networks, the networks get created. Basically, it pulls the APIs and creates the network automatically. You don't have to think anything, right? As a software developer, create this and access the network, you're done, right? And once you are created network, you will get a 40-bit pin that you can deploy to your client, which can run on a Windows machine or Mac or anything. You put that MAC ID and the entire network gets created. So I had shared, okay, the next slide. So we have opened up a developer portal. You can sign up for early sign-ins, and we have the documentation for APIs and REST APIs and Python API documentations are available. Right now you can start creating it. You can use it as for your own personal projects to start with, have comfort, and then you can move to your enterprise projects as well. So what do you get? A best track for your DevOps, right? So for your bullet train. So I keep repeating that analogy because that's what we deliver. You cannot have a Ferrari running on a off-road, right? So that is what I have 8 more minutes left, but this is what we do. End of the day, build much better network, software-driven application specific network on top of internet, right? So connect to our DevOps process. That's what we do. Thank you. Sure.
So let's say I want to do the networking provisioning, environment provisioning kind of thing will come, where I need to building on a button click my WebLogic plus all the installation and VM should speak, and my application or environment should ready for me. So there is basically an environment provisioning, what in the current things we call. Is there anything sort of this thing you people do, or you will provide only the network connectivity, like as you say VPN?
Yeah. So where are those WebLogics and others running? If you can give me more.
Example, wherever if you see the current situation, everywhere using AWS or data center or anything. So based on that only the people will build their application and all. Let's say I'm using data center and I'm using AWS both together, where I'm using VPN, VPC connectivity to connect it.
Right.
So is there any things what you people deliver where, let's say now application provisioning or environment provisioning such thing that people are taking longer time, 3-4 months to make sure that infra is ready for the team for development. Like say example, I'm installing the Oracle.
Yeah.
Oracle Paradies. If I want to do that, I need to have front end, WebLogic, Fusion, and then the application should ready. So in this case, anything you people are
helping there? So basically what we provide is, we provide the connectivity between the VPCs, the public cloud or a private cloud, and the users, or between the data centers or between the public clouds. So we provide the connectivity. That is where our value is. We are not really into the software, but what our use cases are like migration from a public cloud to private cloud to public cloud, data migration also we can do. That's what we are into, so we don't really get into that part of that.
You are providing the service as an infra.
Yes. Yeah. It is a private overlay network on top of internet which you already have, right? So you don't need an MPLS, you don't need a VPN, you don't need a Bastion server, you don't need jump host. So we replace all of them.
Basically, for one of my clients, I have that is, let's say I'm using I'm using AWS. So in order to connect that, we have established the VPN connectivity.
Right.
And moreover, as you know, in AWS we require VPC to connect that application. So this thing already that AWS will provide, and moreover, like you said about the VM to spin it up, I
Yeah.
use the Ansible and write the playbook and then just do it in 5-10 minutes.
Right.
So usually what I need to understand as a
So what you need from NetFoundry to do that? So good question. I think very relevant question. What the point we are trying to drive is between data center and the public cloud. So you can remove those VPNs and deploy NetFoundry. So why should you do that? One is as soon as you add VPN, you must have felt that the network slows down because because of it adds 50% headers on the network and slows down the network. But in our case, the split tunneling I was showing, it improves the performance by 4x or 5x depending on where the data centers and the public clouds are, So clearly it replaces that. In your case, you can go ahead and replace VPN and we are happy to help you to do that. It's exactly the relevant use case. Another example what we have seen is a customer, a large US company was running database in AWS, a telemetry application in Azure, and they don't have a better connectivity, So that is when we said we will connect you on both of these databases. Both of them work for a single application, for a geo telemetry tracking application. How do you connect this and also the user and give a better performance? What we did, we deployed our software on both sides and gave a client to the user. The performance really got up really better on internet. We are talking about on internet. If you, since most of you don't know about network or don't have exposure to networks, it is a completely a public network internet. On top of it, we are creating a private network, MPLS or those technologies, legacy technologies.
For the rest of the questions, we will take it outside
Sure.
the networking time. Meanwhile, Prabhakaran, you can ask 2 questions. We have prizes to give away.
Sure.
So, yeah, you already have.
Yeah. So
Please raise your hand and then answer.
I will make it so simple. So at least you win pretty quickly. So I spoke about a particular kind of a technology, a new technology that has come out in networking world, which is based on software. So is that terminology, you got it right? You know the terminology that I mentioned during my presentation, the new kind of technology for networks. Yeah, SDN. Software defined networking.
Okay, you can please come here. Meanwhile, you can ask the
Yeah.
second question.
Yeah, you can come in. So the second question is, I spoke about NetFoundry platform and I mentioned a simple terminology, again a simple terminology which ended with a WAN, So if someone can, exactly. So you both have been really attentive, thank you for that.
Please come on the stage.
Thank you. You're from?
I'm from One Chapel.
Your name?
I'm Prabhu.
Prabhu. Prabhakaran. Your name?
Jitesh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Jitesh, for being attentive. Thanks, Mr. Prabhakaran, for the wonderful session. Like you said, network is generally the least
Discussed about,
discussed item, but which is actually the most important. So we have Dheeraj here to facilitate you for your wonderful time with us. Dheeraj.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Prabhakaran, you have to wait. There is a moment also.
Okay.
Big round of applause for Prabhakaran, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dheeraj. Thank you, Prabhakaran.
Thank you.
Yeah.